The massive ship Last Hope moved slowly through the darkness of space, like a dying whale. Inside its rusted metal halls, 3,000 alien beings lived in misery. Captain Morthek pressed his 6 insect-like fingers against the control panel and watched the numbers drop. Power at 12%. Life support failing. Fuel almost gone. The Clixon captain had seen many terrible things in his long life, but nothing compared to watching his people slowly die in the cold emptiness between stars. His species was different from others in the galaxy. They could not tell lies. Their bodies would not let them speak false words. To the other alien races, this made them dangerous. How could you do business with someone who always told the truth? Down in the lower levels of the ship, the Vorthak huddled together in their special seal rooms. These crystal people glowed with a soft blue light, but that light was killing them. Their bodies gave off radiation they could not control. The metal walls around them were turning black and crumbling. Other aliens called them walking poison. No planet wanted beings who could make the ground itself sick. In the medical bay, Dr. Yethare tried to help a young Zephyrian child who was crying and holding her head. The Zephyrians looked almost human, but with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Their curse was feeling everyone else's emotions like physical pain. The child was experiencing the fear and despair of 3,000 refugees all at once. It felt like knives cutting through her mind. The 4-armed Deltans worked in the engine room, but their own bodies were destroying the ship. Acid dripped from their skin without warning. They wore thick rubber suits, but the acid ate through everything eventually. Green smoke rose from the metal floors where their sweat had fallen. The galaxy said they were too dangerous to live near others. There were also the Nethans, whose bodies grew too fast and died too young. The Quillians, who could not stop their sharp spines from growing and cutting everything around them. The Morphic Vel, who changed shape without warning and scared other species. For 30 long years, Captain Morthek had taken his people from world to world. Each time, they would send messages asking for help. Each time, the answer came back cold and final. The planet Altara said they had no room. The rich world of Zentros called them genetic mistakes. The powerful Draconian Empire would not even answer their calls. The worst rejection came from New Geneva, a beautiful world covered in silver cities. The planetary governor had actually laughed when he saw their request. These creatures are not just unwanted, he had said over the communication screen. They are evolutionary failures. The galaxy is better off without them. Now their ship was dying around them. The walls leaked poisonous air. The food machines had broken down months ago. Children were getting sick from hunger and radiation. The adults tried to stay strong, but Morthek could see the truth in their eyes. They had given up hope. He looked at the star charts one more time. There was nowhere left to go. Every known world had turned them away. The Galactic Confederation had made it clear. These 7 species were mistakes that nature should have never made. But wait, on the edge of the map, there was something, a small yellow star that was not in any of the official records. The computers said it had planets, but no one had ever studied them. It was too far away, too unimportant for the great galactic powers to care about. The navigation officer, a young Nethan named Sowin, noticed his captain staring at the unknown system. "Sir, that star is in the middle of nowhere. If there is life there, it will be primitive. They probably cannot even help us if they wanted to." Morthek nodded slowly. "But they also might not know the galaxy's rules about our kind. They might not know we are supposed to be thrown away." He made the choice that would change everything. With the last of their fuel, he set course for the unknown yellow star. It would take them 3 days to reach it. If they found nothing there, they would drift in space until their life support finally failed. As the last hope jumped into hyperspace one final time, Morthek did something he had not done in years. He allowed himself to hope. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his massive warship Iron Judgment and watched the refugee vessel disappear into the darkness. His silver skin reflected the cold light of distant stars as he turned away from the viewing screen. The other officers on the bridge said nothing. They had all seen this moment many times before. "Sir," his communications officer asked quietly, "should we follow them and make sure they don't return?" Vextar shook his head. "No need. Space will do what the law requires. Those genetic failures will be dead within days. He walked toward his private quarters, his heavy boots echoing in the silent bridge. Natural selection always wins in the end. The last hope dropped out of hyperspace 3 days later, its engines smoking and power systems failing. Captain Morthek gripped his command chair as alarms screamed throughout the ship. Through the main viewing port, he could see a beautiful blue and green world spinning slowly in the light of a yellow sun. Scans show the planet has oxygen and water, reported his science officer. There are large cities on the surface. The beings there appear to be bipedal, carbon-based life forms. Dr. Yethare entered the bridge carrying a data pad. Her face was grim. Captain, we have lost life support in sectors 7 through 12. The children in those areas are getting sick from the bad air. We have maybe 6 hours before total system failure. Morthek nodded and looked back at the blue world. It was so beautiful, so full of life, but beauty meant nothing if the beings living there had hearts as cold as the rest of the galaxy. In the medical bay, young Kethere lay on a bed with tears streaming down her pale blue face. The emotions of 3,000 desperate refugees crashed through her mind like ocean waves. Fear, despair, anger, and sadness mixed together until she could barely breathe. Her empathic abilities, which her people had once considered a gift, now felt like a curse that would never end. They will say no, she whispered to the Clixon nurse caring for her. Every world says no. We are broken things that no one wants. The nurse, whose own people could never lie, wanted to comfort her, but could only speak truth. You may be right, but the captain will still try. Down in the engine room, the Deltan workers tried desperately to keep the ship running. Their rubber suits were melting from their acidic skin. Green drops fell onto the metal floor, creating small holes that grew bigger by the hour. They knew their own bodies were destroying the last home they had. We should just float into space, one of them said sadly. At least then we would not hurt anyone else. But Chief Engineer Kelvar, despite the pain of his melting suit, refused to give up. No, we stay and fight until the end. Maybe this time will be different. Captain Morthek opened the communication channel to the blue world below. His translator worked slowly, trying to understand the strange signals coming from the planet's surface. The beings there spoke in many different languages, but one seemed to be more common than others. Unknown vessel. Came a voice from the planet. This is Earth Defense Command. Please identify yourself. Morthek took a deep breath. He had given this speech so many times before. My name is Captain Morthek of the ship Last Hope. We are refugees carrying beings that the Galactic Confederation has declared genetically defective. We seek sanctuary on your world. We know we have nothing to offer in return, but we are dying. There was a long pause. Morthek closed his eyes and waited for the familiar words. Request denied. Not compatible. Security risk. Instead, a different voice came through the speakers. It was deeper, calmer. This is General Robert Hayes of Earth Defense. Captain, how many people are on your ship? What kind of help do you need? The bridge fell silent. Even the alarm seemed to quiet down. Dr. Yethare dropped her data pad. The science officer stopped breathing. I'm sorry, Morthek stammered. Could you repeat that? I asked what kind of help you need. General Hayes said again, we're tracking massive system failures on your ship. Are you in immediate danger? Kethare sat up in her medical bed, her empathic abilities suddenly picking up something new from the planet below. Instead of the cold rejection she expected, she felt warmth, curiosity, and something else she had not experienced in 30 years. She felt welcome. Captain Morthek looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. For the first time in decades, he saw something other than despair in their eyes. General Hayes, he said slowly, we have 3,000 refugees aboard this ship. We carry radiation, acid, uncontrolled emotions, and genetics that the galaxy calls broken. Are you certain you want to help us? The human's reply came without hesitation. Captain, in my experience, the galaxy has been wrong about a lot of things. Why don't you come down and we'll figure this out together? As the Last Hope began its descent toward Earth, something impossible happened. The refugees began to hope again. Dr. William Parker had been working the night shift at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station when the signal came through. At first, he thought it was equipment failure. The universal translator kept glitching, showing impossible readings about multiple alien species on a single ship. But as he fine-tuned the equipment, the message became clear. 3,000 desperate beings were asking Earth for help. Within 30 minutes, Parker was on a video call with President Helen Morrison. She sat in the Oval Office at 3 a.m, her hair messy from sleep, but her eyes sharp and focused. Behind her stood General Thomas Wright, Secretary of State Catherine Bell, and Dr. Richard Stone from the CDC. "Let me understand this correctly," President Morrison said, reading the translated message again. "These aliens have been rejected by every planet in their galaxy because of genetic conditions they cannot control?" Parker nodded. "That's right, Madam President. The Vorthack give off radiation. The Deltans produce acid from their skin. The Zephyrians feel everyone's emotions as physical pain. Their own galaxy considers them defective and wants them gone." Secretary Bell frowned. "This could be dangerous. We don't know anything about these conditions. What if the radiation is deadly? What if the acid can eat through our buildings?" General Wright stepped forward. "We should be cautious. This could be some kind of trick or biological weapon." President Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked directly at the camera. "Dr. Parker, in your professional opinion, are these beings asking for help because they're dying?" "Yes, ma'am. Their ship is falling apart. Life support is failing. If we don't help them, they'll all be dead within hours." The president stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the lights of Washington, D.C. sparkled in the darkness. "Gentlemen, lady, I took an oath to protect American citizens. But before that, I was raised to help people in need. I don't care if they have 2 arms or 4, if they glow in the dark or cry acid tears. If someone needs help, we help them." Within 2 hours, every major government on Earth was working together. The European Union sent their best radiation experts. Japan provided advanced materials technology. Australia offered vast empty lands for temporary settlements. Even countries that rarely agreed on anything came together with one purpose. Dr. Patricia Evans led the team that designed special suits to protect humans from Vorthack radiation. She had worked on nuclear power plants for 20 years. But this was different. The alien radiation was not harmful in small amounts, but it built up over time. Her team created lightweight suits with special filters that could let humans work safely with the crystal people. Engineer James Foster took charge of building homes for the Deltans. The acid from their skin could eat through most metals in hours. But Foster remembered reading about deep ocean creatures on Earth that produce similar chemicals. His team developed special polymer walls that could resist the acid. They even created drainage systems to safely collect and dispose of the acidic waste. The biggest challenge came with the Zephyrians. Dr. Linda Cooper, a child psychologist from Boston, volunteered to work with them. When she first met a Zephyrian refugee named Velda, she nearly fainted. The alien's pain hit her like a physical blow. Velda was feeling the emotions of every human and alien around her, all mixed together into a storm of sensation. "I am sorry," Velda said in broken English, tears running down her blue face. "I cannot stop the feeling. It hurts so much." Dr. Cooper sat down beside her, fighting through her own emotional echo. "We're going to figure this out together. Humans have dealt with emotional overload before. We call it anxiety and PTSD. We've learned ways to help." She brought in meditation teachers, sound therapy experts, and even some former soldiers who had learned to manage overwhelming stress. Slowly, they developed techniques to help the Zephyrians build mental barriers against the emotional flood. Meanwhile, the other species watched in amazement as humans treated their conditions not as diseases to be cured, but as differences to be managed. The Klixen, who could not lie, became beloved by human children who delighted in their honest answers to every question. The Nethans, whose bodies aged too quickly, were paired with human researchers studying aging diseases. President Morrison visited the landing sites personally. She shook hands with Captain Morthek, despite the warnings about his sharp insect claws. She hugged crying Zephyrian children. even knowing their emotions would overwhelm her for hours afterward. She stood next to glowing Vorthak elders and smiled for photographs that would be seen across the galaxy. "These beings are not broken," she announced at a global press conference. "They are different. And on Earth, different has always been welcome." But not everyone on Earth agreed. Protests began in major cities. Some people carried signs saying humans first and no alien diseases. Fear is a powerful thing, and change is never easy for everyone. Dr. Parker worked around the clock to show the world that the refugees were not dangerous. He arranged live broadcasts where humans and aliens worked together. Children played with young Clixon, who told them amazing true stories about distant worlds. Farmers learned to use controlled Vorthak radiation to help crops grow faster. Artists worked with Deltans to create new types of sculptures using their acid abilities. Slowly, fear began to turn into wonder. The refugees were not monsters or diseases. They were people with extraordinary abilities that the galaxy had been too afraid to understand. As the first month ended, something beautiful happened. Human engineers and Deltan acid producers, working together, created new types of metal that were stronger than anything Earth had ever seen. Zephyrian empaths began helping human therapists understand their patients better. Vorthak crystal people shared knowledge about energy that helped humans build better power systems. The galaxy had thrown away these species like broken tools. But Earth was discovering that sometimes the most beautiful things come from the pieces others leave behind. 2 years had passed since the refugees landed on Earth, and the world was completely different. In New York City, the skyscrapers glowed with a soft blue light that never went out. The Vorthak crystal people had taught humans how to capture the radiation safely and turn it into clean energy. Power plants that once burned coal and oil now sat empty, while crystal gardens powered entire neighborhoods without creating any pollution. Dr. Patricia Evans walked through one of these gardens with her Vorthak partner, Zendral. The crystal being's body sparkled like a living diamond, and Patricia's special suit protected her from the radiation while still allowing them to work together. "Your people called this a curse," she said, watching the energy collectors gather power from Zendral's natural glow. "But you're lighting up half of Manhattan." In hospitals across the world, something revolutionary was happening. Dr. Linda Cooper no longer worked alone when treating patients with severe trauma. Beside her sat Kethare, the young Zephyrian who had once cried from feeling everyone's pain. Now, she used those same abilities to help human patients in ways no Earth doctor ever could. "I can feel that your sadness is not just about losing your job," Kethare said gently to a middle-aged man sitting across from her. "There's guilt there, too, about something you believe you should have done differently." The man's eyes widened. Years of therapy had never touched that hidden pain, but Kethare felt it immediately. Within months, Zephyrian counselors were working in every major hospital, helping humans heal emotional wounds that had been buried for decades. The changes were everywhere. In Detroit, the old car factories hummed with new life as Deltan workers created metals that were lighter and stronger than anything humans had ever imagined. Their acidic skin, which the galaxy saw as a terrible flaw, could shape metal in ways that no machine could match. Engineer James Foster watched in amazement as a Deltan named Crixven molded titanium with his bare hands. "Your people spent centuries trying to stop this," Foster said, pointing to the acid dripping from Crixven's forearms. "We just gave you better gloves." The Clixon, who could not tell lies, had become the most trusted mediators on Earth. Courts around the world requested their help in difficult cases. Children loved them because they always told the truth, even when it was funny or embarrassing. Captain Morthek himself now worked with the United Nations, helping solve disputes between countries simply by asking direct questions that no human politician could lie about. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about Earth's success. The news reached the Galactic Confederation through traders and explorers who visited the edge of known space. Reports spoke of impossible things: radiation beings powering entire cities, empaths healing minds, acid creatures creating miracle metals. The Council of Worlds called an emergency meeting. "This is unacceptable," declared Chancellor Vorth AI, his golden skin flushed with anger. These primitive humans are harboring biological hazards. They're contaminating themselves with defective genetics. Admiral Vextar stood before the council chamber, his silver uniform gleaming under the bright lights. The humans don't understand the danger they're in. These genetic failures could spread their defects to the human population. We must act before the contamination becomes irreversible. 3 months later, a massive fleet of Confederation warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Vextar commanded 40 battlecruisers, each one capable of destroying a city. His orders were clear: remove the genetic defects by any means necessary. General Robert Hayes received the alien fleet's message while standing in the command center of the space station New Haven. The station orbited Earth like a small moon, built jointly by human and alien workers over the past 2 years. Through the windows, he could see Vorthack crystal farms growing on the station's outer hull, providing power for the entire facility. Primitive species of Earth, Admiral Vextar's voice boomed through the speakers. You are harboring dangerous genetic defects that threaten galactic stability. Surrender these biological hazards immediately for proper disposal, or we will be forced to take action. General Hayes activated his own communication system. Behind him stood Captain Morthek, Dr. Patricia Evans, and a dozen other humans and aliens working together. Admiral Vextar, this is General Hayes of Earth Defense. I'm looking at these so-called biological hazards right now. They're building power systems, healing our wounded, and creating materials we never thought possible. You don't understand the science, Vextar replied coldly. These beings are evolutionary mistakes. Their genetics are unstable. They will contaminate your species. General Hayes looked around at the busy station where humans and aliens worked side by side. In the medical bay, Zephyrian counselors were helping human soldiers recover from war trauma. In the engineering section, Deltan metallurgists were teaching humans to create new types of spacecraft hulls. In the agriculture labs, controlled Vorthack radiation was helping food grow faster and stronger. Admiral, Hayes said calmly, the only contamination I see is in your thinking. These people aren't defects. They're just different. And here on Earth, we've learned that different can be pretty amazing. The tension in space grew thick as both fleets faced each other across the darkness. Earth had never fought a space war before, but they were about to learn that sometimes the most important battles are fought not with weapons, but with ideas. Admiral Vextar stood on his command bridge, finger hovering over the weapon controls. His 40 warships surrounded Earth like a steel net, each one loaded with enough firepower to level mountains. The primitive planet below should have been an easy target. But something was wrong. Sir, his tactical officer reported, voice shaking slightly, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. These aren't weapons. They're cities powered by Vorthack radiation. On the main screen, Earth's surface showed a sight that defied everything Vextar knew about the universe. Sprawling metropolises glowed with soft crystal light. Space elevators stretched into orbit, their cables forged from metals that his scanners couldn't identify. Orbital stations buzzed with activity as human and alien workers moved together like parts of a single machine. This is impossible, whispered a science officer. The genetic defects should have destroyed their civilization by now. But Vextar could see the truth with his own eyes. Far from destroying Earth, the refugees had helped build something beautiful. His communication system crackled to life as transmissions poured in from the planet below. Kethare's voice came through the speakers, no longer filled with pain, but with calm strength. Admiral Vextar, I am Kethare of the Zephyrians. I can feel the confusion in your heart from here. You came to destroy us, but you're seeing something you never expected. From another channel, Captain Morthek spoke with pride in his voice. Admiral, this is Captain Morthek. My people now teach human children about honesty and trust. We are not broken. We never were. Vextar watched his targeting systems lock onto a large city below. One button press would end thousands of lives. But as he stared at the screen, he saw something that made his hand freeze. Human children were playing in parks alongside young Clixon. Zephyrian families walked peacefully through markets while human shopkeepers smiled and waved. Deltan workers built new structures while human engineers handed them tools. "Sir," his weapons officer asked nervously, "should I begin the bombardment?" Vextar couldn't answer. He thought about his own son back on Altara Prime, born with a genetic condition that made his skin change colors with his emotions. The boy lived in shame, hiding in special clothes to appear normal. What would this child's life be like on Earth, where difference was celebrated instead of hidden? Meanwhile, deep inside Earth's newest space facility, engineer Daniel Brooks worked alongside his Deltan partner Vextan on humanity's most ambitious project yet. For months, they have been combining human-computer technology with Deltan acid forging techniques to create something the galaxy had never seen. "Are you ready?" Daniel asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. Vextan's forearms moved gracefully over the strange metal device they had built together. Where his acidic touch met the specially designed surface, complex patterns formed that no human machine could create. "The calculations are perfect. This engine will make travel between stars as easy as flying between cities." They activated their creation, and space itself seemed to bend around the device. The new faster-than-light drive worked by using Deltan bioacids to alter the molecular structure of space-time in ways that pure technology never could. Human science provided the theory, but Deltan biology made it possible. Admiral Vextar received the data transmission about the new engine and stared at it in disbelief. These defective beings and their human partners had just advanced galactic technology by centuries. Everything he believed about genetic purity and species hierarchy crumbled in that moment. "Admiral, General Robert Hayes called from the space station New Haven. Are you going to attack, or can we talk?" Vextar looked around his bridge at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders. He could destroy Earth and complete his mission, but he would also be destroying something precious and unique in the galaxy. "Stand down weapons," he ordered quietly. "Open a communication channel to Earth Command." The battle that was supposed to last minutes stretched into 3 hours of talking. Vextar found himself explaining galactic law to humans who simply didn't understand why genetic differences should mean death. General Hayes showed him video feeds of integrated communities where the defects had become features. "Admiral," Hayes said, pointing to a hospital where Zephyrin and Pass worked alongside human doctors, "you're asking me to kill people who are saving lives every day." "I can't do that. I won't do that." When Vextar finally gave the order to return home, his voice carried something his crew had never heard before: doubt. "We're going back to the Confederation, but we're taking new information with us." 6 months later, everything changed. The first Confederation ship to arrive at Earth was not a warship, but a civilian transport. It carried 200 beings that their own worlds had rejected. Talaxians whose telepathy was too strong, morphic beings who couldn't control their shape-changing, elderly Cronians whose species normally killed them when they became too old to work. Dr. Nancy Phillips, Earth's new Minister of Interspecies Affairs, stood on the landing platform as the transport touched down. She had replaced 3 other officials who couldn't handle the job's demands, but Nancy had something special. She genuinely loved meeting new people, no matter how different they were. As the airlock opened and the newest refugees stepped onto Earth's soil, Nancy smiled warmly. "Welcome to Earth," she said to each new arrival. "We don't care what your home planets think is wrong with you. We only care about what amazing things you might do here." Behind her, human children played with young Clixon, while Zephyrian teachers helped them understand their feelings. Vorthak elders shared stories, while their gentle radiation powered the lights above. Deltan artists created sculptures that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Earth had become something the galaxy had never seen before, a world where being different wasn't just accepted, but celebrated. And slowly, one ship at a time, the rest of the universe was beginning to learn.